And, all right, I think we're all set. So thanks for joining us, everyone. This is our second virtual cocktail with 13th Street Cocktails. Aaron is the owner over there, and we'll be passing the torch off to him in a little bit. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone. We love doing our events, and we're looking forward to our first in-person event in over a year and a half, which will probably happen in the fall. So stay tuned for that. We figured we'd give you guys a quick market update and a fun little story, and then we'd get started. And just want to say thank you to our sponsors. We have a couple title companies, one being City Abstract, who we work closely with, as well as My City Mortgage. And I know we also have Chris Swartz on this call with First Choice, and those are some of our preferred partners. So just want to say thank you guys for everything you do. And state of the market. This is just for Philadelphia, these stats. So we can always get you guys stuff from Montgomery County, Camden County, wherever you're located if it's of interest. But for most of us in Philly, year-to-date sales are up 57% over last year, which is huge. And what we did is we pulled most of the neighborhoods that we do business in. So the neighborhoods closer to Center City, still includes like Manayunk, Foxborough, Chestnut Hill, West Philly. I think we don't do a ton of business in North Philly, although we'll go up there. So we kind of excluded a lot of those neighborhoods, which are still within the county. But year-to-date sales up 57%. The average sales price is up 12%, which is pretty much right on par with what one of the leading economists in Philly was saying, Kevin Gillen. He was expecting about a 12 to 13% increase, which was what the same increase in 2020 he was expecting for 2021, which is a huge increase in the housing market. Normally, you're looking at on average around 3 to 4%. And then what I thought was interesting is Manayunk, Roxborough, and East Falls all have the lowest months of supply, meaning the least amount of inventory. So they also happen to have the most outdoor space if we're talking about city living. So I thought it was kind of cool to point out where the least amount of inventory is, which typically means there's a high demand in those neighborhoods, which have bigger backyards, larger lots. So that's a cool fact. And then just mortgage rates, giving you guys an update where those stand. They're still crazy low right now. 30 years as low as 2.875, and a 15 is as low as 2.125, you know, depending on the loan product you're going with or and what your credit is. So, you know, if you're thinking about refinancing or purchasing, like there's no better time in my eyes. I know we refied one of our properties into a 15-year, and it's like, just can't go wrong at a 2% interest rate. So keep that in mind. And Sage provided us with a nice fun fact that 90% of the world's billionaires have become rich through real estate. So hit us up if you're thinking about an investment property. And then just providing a little bit more information and value for you guys. I thought what we were able to accomplish with Danielle was pretty cool, which you're going to see a video coming out in the next month or so. We helped Danielle purchase a triplex, a multifamily out in West Philly. And the power of an owner-occupant loan is that you can put as little as 3.5% down. Unlike a typical investment property where you normally need about 20 to 25% down if you're not living in it. So your cash on cash return really goes through the roof when you're putting only 3.5% down. On top of that, you need roughly 5% for closing costs in Philadelphia. In the suburbs, it's normally 4% since transfer tax is a little bit lower. And we helped Danielle buy something that had rental income of $38.50 per month, and her PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, if you've ever heard that term, is right around $28.50. I might be off a couple dollars, but it's right around there. So Danielle will be living in one of the units and renting out the other two. And once she moves out, she's going to be netting roughly $800 per month, which is a fantastic return. So some people are calling this house hacking. It's a really great product that you can use as an owner occupant. So I thought that might be valuable to share with some of you who are thinking about getting into this investment. And that's all I got. So let's enjoy some cocktails, and I'm going to hand it over to our main man, Aaron, with 13th Street Cocktail. That's a tongue twister.
Thanks, man. Welcome, everybody. I hope for those of you that we ship boxes to, you got them this morning. No issues with FedEx. They've been pretty good as of recent. So hopefully nothing came broken or jumped on. Sometimes these boxes are like totally destroyed. Looks like they went through a tornado. But if you got it shipped, I'm hoping it's all good. And if you got delivered by our friends on this call, let's rock and roll. Let's get ready to drink. Now we got to take everything out of these boxes. We sent you some spirits. You got a little jigger from us, this little metal thing right here. You have 2 bottles of syrup. We got a larger one. That's going to be our curaçao. We're using that in our margarita. Then we have a smaller one, which is our peppercorn cardamom syrup. You're going to have to listen carefully when we do these cocktails. This is like spoken word cocktail making. We're not reading off a menu. So we're going to have 2 bottles of syrup. Like I said, we got a larger one and a smaller one. Let's put those guys aside. We also sent you some fruit. We got a cactus pear. I guess we call it fruit. It's cactus. Prickly pear is another word for these. In Mexico, they call it tuna. But when you cut these in half, it's bright red. They're beautiful, beautiful fruits. And that is on top of the cactus. That's where the flower would come out of the cactus. And these come from Oaxaca, which is South Pacific Mexico. We get these every week, fresh from Oaxaca. Awesome, awesome stuff. And then we got a lemon and a lime. No need to explain there, but still off-camera action happening. But anyhow, we have all the tools we need. We have 2 cocktails that we're making tonight. And if you're not familiar with 13th Street Cocktails, my company, we do a lot of work in this area. So if you're in the Philly area or New Jersey, whether in Bucks County down to Chester County, Montgo, we do a lot of work out there as well. I started this company 8 years ago in Center City, right where most of your real estate transactions are. And I started on 13th and Chestnut in my apartment, right above Habanera. I'm not sure if you remember that restaurant. It's still there, from Marcy and Val on 13th Street. So I had this cool apartment where I wanted to do something kind of fun. So we started throwing these cocktail parties there. And since we're on 13th Street, we call it 13th Street Cocktail Catering. And then from then we grew into building these mobile bars out of trailers. We have horse trailers that are cocktail bars. In fact, right now I just dropped one off at the Navy Yard. It's at Anthropology for their welcoming back party. And we have vintage campers that are cocktail bars, quite a few of them. So if you want to see our full inventory, if you're thinking of entertaining in your sweet new home or your future one, check out 13th Street Cocktails on Instagram. Easy to find, 13th Street is spelled out. Cocktails is plural. And that's easy to find. If you type in 13, I'm sure our logo probably pops up there. So give it a follow if you like. You'll see all the fun stuff that we're up to. And the 2 cocktails we're having tonight are 2 of our signatures that we make at events. And one is like near and dear to my heart. I'm sure all of us here love a good margarita, right? But you can have margaritas that are way too sweet or way too sour. Sometimes a lot of restaurants don't use fresh citrus. They use bottled lime juice. It doesn't taste that good. The only way to make a really good marg is by cutting a lime in half and squeezing it. I mean, everything else that goes in a margarita that you make at home comes out of a bottle. Your curaçao or your Cointreau, the orange flavor. Scrape right off the shelf. Good tequila, there's tons that you can find. Now, when shopping tequila, for any tequila, just buy 100% blue agave. And when I do cocktails, when I'm mixing drinks, the stuff that we sent you guys, El Pimador, this little bottle right here, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tequila. It's awesome, awesome stuff. Because you don't have to spring for like those $50, $60 bottles of tequila to make a margarita. I like shopping like that $25 to $30 price point. I feel like, you know, if you're buying just blue agave, 100% blue agave, any brand is good by itself too. I mean, you don't have to spend a fortune to have a good tequila. There's so much beautiful stuff. If you think about it, it's all made from the same plant. It's one plant, blue agave, which is a lily, grows in one part. Well, it grows all over Mexico, but for tequila, they have to harvest it in the areas around Jalisco. And when you think about like all the spirit categories out there, like, you know, vodkas, gins, whiskeys, scotch, so forth, it's kind of cool to think like tequila, it's just made from one kind of plant that's grown in just one part of the world. You can't make it anywhere else. And there's not too many spirits that are mass produced in such volume. You think that you get tequila anywhere you go in the world, but it's all coming from one small area in the globe. And that's amazing. Not just that, the plant takes a decade, usually 8 to 10 years to grow. You get one harvest out of it. So you think of like the vodka industry, Tito's vodka, it's made from corn, grow corn everywhere. Well, in our backyard here. Gin can be made from grapes, potatoes, grains, wheat, anything, right? Same with whiskey. But like with tequila, it's that one plant, you can only harvest it almost once a decade. So it's really, really special stuff. I love it. And I think a good margarita, if you're going to use a spirit that's like a decade old to begin with, you owe it, you know, some good ingredients. You have to make a good cocktail with some good stuff. So we'll get started, I think, with tequila. It's very hot in my shop here. Hopefully you have better AC than I do in your house. But we're going to go with a fresh, classic marg. Then we're going to jazz it up with a little bit of prickly pear. One thing we couldn't send you was a cocktail shaker. Won't fit in those boxes. Now, if you don't have a proper shaker, like one of these guys, a Boston shaker, or maybe you have one of those cobbler shakers that have that little lid on top, it's all good. You can use anything to shake cocktails with. Like deli containers work fine. As long as you put a lid on it and shake it around, that's all you need. And we give you that little card in there. It's maybe a mason jar. That's great for a cocktail shaker too. Just anything that you can seal up and shake with plenty of ice is perfect in my book. That works for me. So to get started, just get whatever you want to shake your cocktail in. So I have a shaker here. I'll use it, but you know, rummage around your kitchen, find like a Tupperware, whatever you have. That'll work just fine. And when we make sours, like a margarita, gimlets, there's a million sours. Think of anything that has like citrus in it, cosmopolitans. French 75s are even kind of sours, right? There's so many of them. I always start off making my sours with the sour ingredient first. It just helps you kind of forget, like, keep everything in order, right? So you don't have like, you get distracted, your phone goes off, you get a call, and you're like, oh God, what's in my shaker? Well, if we start with the sour ingredient of making sour, odds are if you look in there, you'll see, oh, it's lime juice. At least I know that step was completed. I can pick up and keep going. The worst thing would happen, you start with your tequila, you start mixing other stuff in there, you get distracted, you come back, not sure where you left off, and you pour it all out and start over again. You just wasted really good tequila. So we want to make sure we always put our spirits in last when building any cocktail. And when we're making sours, we're going to start off with the sour ingredient first. So you grab your lime, you want to cut it in half. Basically, we're trying to bisect it so that stem and that nub are on opposite sides. That way, when you look at the cut fruit, you're going to see all these little triangles, all that like fresh citrus that you're going to squeeze, helps get all that juice out better. So you want to cut it in half, like bisect. You don't want to cut it lengthwise if it's an oval. You want to cut it right in half so that stem and the nub end up on opposite sides. And then once you have all that nice lime-rated juice, I just like to find a cup around my kitchen and juice everything you can into it and squeeze it like 5 or 6 times. Try to get all that fresh lime juice out of there. Really give it a good squeeze. And there's so much juice that's like hiding in the citrus that you can really like milk this thing, get a ton of juice out of it. That's only 1/2. That's probably enough to do 1 margarita. Now, if you're making doubles tonight, there's cocktails for 2. Just juice all of your lime. And when we do the lemon, just juice all the lemon. For all of us at home making single drinks, same thing. Just get all the juice you've done with now. Just squeeze all that fresh lime juice into a cup so we can measure. Comes to measuring, we use jiggers when we're doing good cocktails because we want our units of measurement to be somewhat precise. At least we can eyeball it. Now we're gonna make this drink into a classic sour breakdown. I'll get into that in a second. When you're looking at your jigger, you're gonna find these little delineations on the side. Mine says 3/4 ounce, 1.5 ounce. You might have a different one at home. We set some of these out, some have different measurements. So just give it a check. Now, if you're looking at your jigger and the smaller side says 3/4 of an ounce, what you're gonna wanna do is fill that up to the very, very top with that fresh lime that you just used of the 3/4 of an ounce side. And it goes right into your shaker or whatever you're shaking with. Now, if your jigger looks a little bit bigger than this one and you have a 1 ounce, 2 ounce jigger, just fill up that 1 ounce side 3/4 of the way to the top. And that's it. It's that easy. So if you got that 3/4 ounce jigger, like what I have in my hand, you're gonna fill up to the very, very top and dump it right into your shaker. That's how we get started. The sour is in there. There's no substitution for fresh lime juice. And from this day forward, you wanna make good cocktails, don't ever get tempted to cheat and buy pasteurized lime juice. Whole Foods sells a ton of them. They're on the shelf, somewhere in the refrigerated aisle. None of them are as good as just doing it fresh. There's no substitute for that. So you'll see, you want to balance that fresh citrus. This fresh lime, there's nothing like it. Like you can't use a pasteurized product and compare it to a fresh lime in a cocktail. This is bright. It's fresh acidity. It hasn't oxidized. Also, it hasn't been pasteurized. When you pasteurize lime juice, that bottled stuff that you buy, they're boiling at high temperature to kill the pathogens. It also gets rid of so many of those good flavors that you have in lime. So that fresh acidity that we're gonna have in this cocktail, we wanna balance out with some sugar. Now, when it comes to curacao in cocktails, you can use Grand Marnier, Cointreau, triple sec is a common one. But I really love a dry curacao. So we made this one for you. That larger bottle that you have of syrup, that has a Haitian orange curacao. We got Haitian orange peels. We mix that with Spanish orange peels. Both these are bitter. And they kind of get a drying, bitter aftertaste. And then we put some fresh orange peel in there and a little bit of cognac, some really nice Pierre cognac. Cook that with sugar and water. We let all those flavors macerate for about 20, 25 minutes. Then we let it steep so it sits for a couple hours. And then we strain off all the solids and you get this really beautiful curacao, which in my opinion makes this margarita. And that really separates, I think, good margs from bad margs. It's that curacao, that orange flavor, the artificial stuff, you can taste it. A really nice curacao. And if you don't want to go through the trouble of making your own like we did for you, it's all good. Cointreau makes a phenomenal marg. You can also buy one from Pear, which is a cognac producer from France, right? And they make a wonderful dry curacao that is made in the traditional fashion from the 1800s. It's wonderful. And that's kind of what the flavor we're going for with our homemade stuff. So with no further ado, we're going to put that curacao in this cocktail where we landed on lime juice. Remember, it's a 3/4 ounce of fresh squeezed lime. We're going to balance that out with equal parts of that curacao. Remembering that curacao is the larger bottle of syrup that we sent you. So 3/4 of an ounce goes right on top of that lime juice.
So Aaron, anyone who missed, we just got lime juice and curacao so far, right?
That's it, man. Nothing else. Don't get ahead of us either, right? So, and if you're coming a little bit late, where you're distracted, like I said before, things happen, right? Things pop up. If you're measuring with your jigger, just keep an eye on your measurements. The 3/4 ounce is the smaller side, or your smaller side might say 1 ounce on it. Both will work fine. Just make sure when we call for a 3/4 ounce measurement, and if you have a larger jigger, that you're not filling up to the very top, you're going 3/4 of the way to the top. And if you have a 3/4 ounce and a half jigger, just follow right after me because that's what I'm working with right here. So we essentially just made that sour mix. I was talking about fresh sours, and we were talking about Cosmos or whiskey sours, gimlets, margs. They all follow the same kind of like principle. It's 2-1-1. And the 4-1 on the 2-1-1 is it's 2 parts spirit, 1 part sour, 1 part sweet. And that's how pretty much every classic sour is made. So if you look up a recipe for a Cosmo, or a whiskey sour. It's going to kind of follow the same rhetoric, right? Now the two parts, what's that? Oh, I thought there was a question. Anyhow, so we got 2 parts spirit to counteract or to balance those citrus, that sweet flavor. We want to add some strength to this cocktail. That's where that tequila comes in. Now, 1.5 ounces of tequila would be really 2 parts tequila to that ratio that we just did. A 50 ml is about 1.75 ounces plus like a little hair. And that's okay. We can put a little bit extra in there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So there's an exception to every rule, right? So we're going to throw this whole bottle, everything in there, goes right on top of that lime, right on top of that nice Haitian dried curaçao. And that's 1.75 ounces of nice tequila. Goes right on top. Tequila is done. We are almost there. All right, so when we make cocktails, we want to have all those liquid ingredients in first. We want to make sure our spirit is in there last. That's what we just did. Tequila went in last. Now we know this thing is ready to shake, but not so fast. We want to add a little bit of prickly pear. We're going to get some color in this thing. So if you cut that prickly pear in half, unlike the limes, I like to cut these lengthwise, right down the middle. So you're just splitting it. Easy to get all the flesh out. You don't have to use a spoon. Just hold that prickly pear right on top of your shaker. Give it a squeeze, and then you can just kind of use that shaker tin or your edge of your Tupperware, whatever you're using at home. Kind of scrape it all off. You open it up. There still might be a little bit of flesh in there. It's fine. You don't need it. Prickly pears are going to add a lot of flavor to the drink. They're going to add some texture. So it has that like kind of aloe vera. It's a cactus. It has some water in there. It's a little, has like some nice viscosity, but it also adds brilliant color. And this is to make this margarita pop. So we got that solid stuff right on top. So you put that prickly pear, half of one, right inside your drink. You don't need the full thing. Just half of a prickly pear makes 1 cocktail. If you're making 2, well then use the full fruit. Once you have everything in your shaker, most important step when making cocktails is making sure that we have a lot of ice when we shake. Now here's the trick on ice. If you don't shake with a lot of ice, say you put like a handful of ice in here, and you had just regular ice cubes, the normal stuff from your freezer works really well. If I only put like 1 handful of ice, maybe there's like 8 cubes. Quick question. There. What's that?
Can we do a quick review of all the ingredients we use thus far?
Oh, absolutely, of course,
yes,
man. So we start off with 3/4 ounce of fresh lime juice. Just measure it, squeeze that lime, get that stuff out, throw it in your shaker. Then from the larger bottle, it has that Haitian curaçao. Maybe we have 2 syrup bottles. This is, unlabeled, mysterious bottles. The larger one is the curaçao. Equal parts to that lime juice. So 3/4 ounce once again. Then you put that full bottle of tequila right on top, and then add half of a prickly pear's flesh. Just cut it in half, kind of squeeze that stuff out of there. It goes right on top, and then you're set. You have a prickly pear marg ready to shake. And at any point, if I lose anybody on this cocktail or the next one, just stop me like you just did. That's perfect. I mean, we should all make this drink together. So I was talking about that ice. If we put a handful of ice in there and you shook this cocktail, that ice is going to melt very fast. We just put warm lime juice in there. We have a room temperature curaçao and room temperature tequila. So we throw just 8 ice cubes. They're going to melt way too fast. The trick is add a ton of ice so it brings the temperature in your shaker down super low. It'll help that ice not melt as quickly. So it's weird, like more ice, you have more control over the rate of dilution. You really want to ice these things down. So a few handfuls is good. I fill my shakers up almost like 3/4 of the way to the top. That's a lot of ice for 1 cocktail. Knowing I'm not going to drink all this ice, but when I shake this cocktail, it's also going to help break up that prickly pear. It's going to make this drink nice and cold. And it's going to give us that right dilution that we need in this cocktail. Water comes from the ice cube melt. And we need that to balance out all these flavors. Water does a lot in drinks. It's as important as an ingredient as everything else, right? So you have to have that good dilution, which only comes from plenty of ice. So like raid your freezer, fill up your shaker with a lot of ice, put the top on, and you want to shake this cocktail pretty hard for about 15 seconds. The goal here, we want to like aerate this drink, really whip it up and make sure that everything is getting ice cold and that prickly pear is getting broken up. Then get a rocks glass handy or any glass you're gonna drink out of. After we shake this drink, you're gonna pour it right into that glass. Awesome. Now pour all the contents, ice and all. You're gonna have some prickly pear seeds get in there, it's fine. But if you have your cocktail, fill it up with ice too. You wanna make sure your drink is full of ice, just like when you shook it, it had a lot of ice. Because we wanna keep that drink nice and cold. It needs a lot of ice in there to maintain that temperature so your drink doesn't get warm. It also won't water down from too few ice cubes just melting. So good cocktails have to get shaken with a lot of ice. They should also get drank with a lot of ice. Up to the very top of your glass makes a good drink. Give it a little sip. Let's share a little toast. Awesome. How's everybody's cocktails coming out?
Delicious.
Really good.
Oh, I got it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So good. Very good.
Cheers.
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 This guy's in a bar.
Fantastic. I love that it's not too sweet.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, true. Do you like it? Yeah, you like it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That color is incredible.
Yes,
Isn't
it
that
is.
wild, right? And, you know, one thing that's funny with like the prickly pears, it's not a lot of flavor, but it is all about that color. I mean, it's gorgeous. It jumps out at you. It has the same chemicals that beets have, that blood oranges have, that give that color. So it's brilliant for coloring
Ooh.
mocktails or cocktails, or even agua frescas if we use prickly pear. It's such an indispensable way to get that brilliant magenta coloring in anything you drink.
Where does one purchase a prickly pear? No.
Anybody have any questions on this one or any trouble making it, or are we all doing pretty well?
Sage, your
I think
friend.
I kind of heard a whisper in the background that said, where does one purchase prickly pear?
I know, that's true. Where do we purchase it?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So we buy this, and we're lucky in Philadelphia, right by the airport. There's this massive produce market. I don't expect any guys to run over there, but it's like the size of like 5 Costco's. It's crazy. And that's pretty much where every fruit and veggie that you get from any grocery store in this area comes from. So it's not from a farm, it's coming from the produce market. There's one truck that goes from Oaxaca, Mexico, which is South Pacific Mexico, all the way up to Philadelphia, then to New York, and turns around every week. Goes from Mexico here and back, nonstop. And they bring the prickly pears from Oaxaca right here. So it's pretty cool. There are some like Produce Junction. You'll find like randomly, you'll find prickly pears there. I know right now they actually do have them, but it's kind of seasonal and grocery, but you'll always find it at that produce market. But I mean, if you want to buy it fresh, that's what you got to do. You can also go online. You can buy prickly pear purees. There's a lot of good companies that make sugar adjusted purees, so they always come out kind of the same. A lot of people in baking will use these. Like there's Napa purees and all these really great companies that have them. Also a resource where you don't have to go to Mexico or the produce market. You can get shipped to your house, and there's no seeds. So that's the only trick with these guys. They're full of seeds. They're not bad to eat. They won't do anything to you, but the purees don't have any of the seeds, which is kind of a nice thing. But I think nothing's like just cutting open a cactus, squeezing it fresh. That experience for me is worth the inconvenience of having some seeds in the drink.
You might be able to find it at the Asian stores on Washington, like the Vietnamese markets. It's always a good place. There's 6th in Washington and like 10th in Washington where 75 is. They always have a good selection of exotic fruits.
Oh,
So
really?
they might, not guarantee, but you might be able to find prickly pear there.
And also with like, even like in South Philly, the Italian market, which is somewhat of an Italian market, you know, a lot of like the Latin American groceries would have this kind of stuff where there's stands, because this is something that's huge in Mexico. Just when you're shopping for it, you don't have to say prickly pear, ask for tuna, and they won't bring you to like the fish aisle. They'll know exactly what you're talking about. This is what it's called in Mexico, it's tuna. But we're lucky, like for most of us that are in this call are in the Philly area. Now, we're not all in Philly. We ship some cocktail boxes across the country. But here we have access to like such a diverse range of produce that when you're making cocktails, you can go nuts. Like it doesn't have to be prickly pear in this. You can find some other really like rambutan. You can put some mangosteen I just bought. That's a really cool Indonesian fruit, which I found at like one of those Asian markets. I went to H Mart for it. But we have access to such a plethora of really good fruits and groceries because we have such a diverse population in this area. And that's awesome. When you're making cocktails, you really have so much to work with. Whereas different parts of the country, you won't find these. Chestertown, Maryland does not have prickly pears. I've been there.
I buy a lot of prickly pears. This last year was rough for finding them, but the corner stores I found more than anywhere else.
Now, what do you buy a bunch of these things for? I'm just curious.
I love them. I put them in drinks. I eat them as they are. Like.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And they're very good for you too. They're not high in sugar. You know, they have a lot of like antioxidants. It's a wonderful cactus. It's awesome stuff. It's a healthy snack. I go through a lot of them, and they're pretty cheap too. You get cases of these things for like $25, and a case has like 150 of these prickly pears. So just to think, like the case of those things that traveled across the whole country to get here. You know, it's wild that you can find these things for that price. Such a good cocktail fruit. It's like it's one of our like little tricks to get good color that people go nuts over it.
Hey, quick question.
What do you got?
Sorry. If you're serving this at one of your events, what is your rim of choice for a prickly pear margarita?
Good question. So we do a lot of fun stuff with salts. Personally, I'm not a salt guy on cocktails, but a lot of folks are. Now, when you want to salt up your margarita, my suggestion is do a half salted rim. That way you don't have to ask your friends when you're entertaining if they want salt or not. If they don't want salt, they can just turn the drink around. But when you make these like salted rims, we use a lot of really, like in this one, which has brilliant color, you know, we might want a really bright, loud rim. Mixing hibiscus flower with kosher salt will give a really beautiful pink color as well. And hibiscus, you can buy dried, like hibiscus tea, same stuff. You can open up a tea bag of hibiscus, mix it with kosher salt, stick it on like a blender. You don't even need to, you can just kind of use your fingers to crush it up, and you'll get that really beautiful pink color as well. So I think that kind of works well because it's a statement rim. But another fun thing you can do, buy dried chilies. Blend those up, like dried chipotle, marina chili, maybe a little bit of arbol for a little heat. Blend that with some salt. You have these awesome, smoky, spicy salt rims that are wonderful. Depends on your palate, but you can do a lot with salt. I personally just don't like salt in my cocktails, so I usually don't, but folks love our hibiscus chili salt. And we just do marina chili with hibiscus, blend it up. Stuff is great, doesn't ever go bad. So you make a big container of it, lasts you for full summer.
And what's the name of this drink? And then also, what was the syrup mixture you can buy pre-made?
All right, cool. So the one that we made for you was a dry curaçao. There's many kind of curaçaos out there. The brand that you can buy that I think is phenomenal, and they do sell it in Pennsylvania, so we are lucky. It's called Pear. So Pierre, like the French name Pierre. Ferrand is Ferrand, and dry curaçao. Curaçao spelled like the country Curaçao. That's the best stuff for making cocktails. And this would be a prickly pear classic margarita. The specs on that, remember, it's 2-1-1, 2 parts tequila. We fudged that a little bit. We did like 2 1/4 parts tequila, but no one's complaining. And then we added just equal parts lime and that curaçao. And if you use that pear stuff, it's gonna taste great. Just like this. It has a little bit more alcohol in it, so it does add a little bit more kick to the margarita, but I just go for a drier one. That's why I bet none of you guys thought this was a very sweet cocktail. And it really isn't a very sweet cocktail. It's not a ton of sugar in there. I'm not gonna say it's like one of the skinny margaritas or whatever, but it's not like cloyingly sweet. And nothing grosses me out more than really, really sweet drinks when you're trying to like enjoy a nice day on the beach. Like, the last thing you need is like a mouthful of sugar. Just like sticks to your teeth, gets you all feeling funky. I want a drink to be crisp, light, and the finish a little bit drier, so then I want to have another sip to keep quenching my thirst. That's why this thing is just perfect.
Is the pear available at the PA store? Because you know
It depends on
PA.
but it depends on the store you go to. It's like it would probably be one of those like
The nicer ones.
Chairman's Select or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
Also, look, it's summertime. We're going to the beach. Wine Works in Cherry Hill, Route 70. Just go over there, pick up some good stuff. Buy right, Williamstown. You can order a lot of stuff as well from any of the shops in Jersey, Delaware, Total Wine, whatever. So easy to find, but they do have it in Pennsylvania. You can get it here.
Okay.
And that's like one of those things. Buy a few bottles. You don't have to like search for it again. It doesn't go bad, right? So you can hold on to it for a couple of years. It won't really lose any quality. And it's such an awesome, awesome mixing curaçao. It's the best stuff I've ever had. Now, with that said, I'm getting thirsty for another drink. So the next one is kind of more like open to interpretation. It can go 2 ways. One can be served up. You know, like you think of a martini glass, serving drinks without ice, and strain them. It can also make a very nice Collins style drink by adding seltzer or even a nice tonic water. So if you have any seltzer at home or a nice tonic like Q or Fever Tree or even garbage tonic from the 2 liter, it still work. It still make it, I guess, a decent drink. But if you want to add some lift or fizz to this cocktail, you certainly can, and I'll tell you how to do it. And then if you're not going to add any fizz and you want to have this drink served just up, right, straight out of the bottle, it's powerful, kind of like a martini. Then we're going to make this drink that style, and you do you. It's up to you to decide how you want to have this one. It works really well both ways. To make this, we want to start off with a clean shaker. So if you have one shaker in your house or whatever you're using to shake drinks, give it a little rinse, get all that prickly pear stuff out of there, dump it, down your garbage disposal, and then start from scratch. You want to have a clean palate. We don't need to have any prickly pear or tequila. Even though I love tequila, it just doesn't belong in this drink. We're going to give it a nice fresh start. Now, we sent some of you guys gin, some of you guys got vodka. It's a clear spirit cocktail. It works with both. There's no wrong way to do it. So if you have a bottle of Tito's or you have a bottle of that Prairie gin, that organic gin, awesome stuff, both work fine. We're going to use that small little syrup bottle that we have. And if you look at there, there's like these little black specks. They're meant to be there. Like, don't get freaked out. That's this black peppercorn and cardamom ground up together, cooked with sugar and water. Really, really nice syrup. Give it a little taste if you want. Just like give it a little shake. Your finger a little like, that is awesome. And cardamom in cocktails is one of my favorite things to use. It's one of those spices that, unless you're very familiar with, Asian cuisine or a lot of you find Indian spices, a lot of Indian cuisine has cardamom in it. Iranian food has a lot of cardamom. It's a wonderful, wonderful spice. A little bit goes a very, very, very long way. And it kind of has this like weird fruity pebbles taste to me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know if anyone else in this meeting thinks the same, but kind of has like a little fruity pebble thing.
It totally does.
Yes, finally. All
So-
right, it took me a year for someone to agree.
So, okay, so I have to tell you this story. I'm sorry, I have to, but
Bring it
I went to
on.
culinary school and we did this orange and cardamom zabaglione. And at the tasting of it, so we learned how to make it, and then we all got tasting spoons and we tasted it, and the chef was like, so what does this remind you of? And it's like, I don't know, it's like familiar, it's on the tip of my tongue. He's like, think back to your childhood. What does this remind you of? And we're like, oh my God, it's Fruity Pebbles.
Wait,
Orange and cardamom together is Fruity Pebbles.
that is wild. Because I thought I was like the only, and every time
Yep.
I do it, it's just like crickets. I'm like, all right, just
Yeah.
no validation. And you finally have made my life complete. Thank you. I'm fulfilled now. It does taste like Fruity Pebbles because a real chef said it does. So there we go. Now, that cardamom peppercorn syrup is really going to have a lot of flavor in this drink. Because you think fresh ground pepper, packed with flavor. Cardamom, Fruity Pebbles, packed with flavor. Awesome stuff. Now, unlike that last cocktail that had 3/4 of an ounce of both ingredients, we're going to scale things back a little bit. We're only going to do a 1/2 ounce of lemon, balance that with a 1/2 ounce of that cardamom. I want this drink not to really jump out like citrus or jump out like cardamom, black pepper. You'll taste it, believe me. Having a gin or a vodka as your base spirit is going to let those flavors really shine. But we don't need a lot of it. We're going for like that delicate style drink. Now, not like a powerful, not like a power sour. We're having something a little lighter. So we'll start off with that fresh lemon, as we did before. We're going to give that a good squeeze in a clean glass. We'll make sure you get all that fresh lemon juice out, seeds and all. It's all good. If you get seeds in your cocktail, I don't care. It still makes it a great drink. Just gets a little annoying having seeds in there, but if you don't have a fancy citrus press, your hand works fine. Just squeeze that stuff. And if any of those lemon seeds get in your drink, so be it. It's not going to ruin anything. Works just fine. Now, when we're measuring this stuff out, we got to really be careful not to overdo it because I really want this drink to not, like I said, have those real powerful flavors. I want them to come out with like a more delicate approach. So I'm just going to make sure I don't go more than a 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. We really want to just be careful not to overdo it. So if you got that 3/4 ounce jigger, you're going to fill it up with that fresh lemon that you just squeezed. Just a little over like halfway up to the top. Not at the very top to get 3/4 of an ounce, just a little over halfway, and you pour it right in there. Now, if you got that 1 ounce jigger, same thing, just a little bit over that halfway mark, because with these jiggers, it's convex. Like halfway is not really halfway to the top. It's got to be a little bit over. So just eyeball it, but just make sure you're not adding a full 3/4 ounce. I want you to make sure you stay shy of that fresh lemon. Or if you're using that 1 ounce side of the jigger, just fill it up halfway to the top, plus like a hair. If you got that 3/4 ounce jigger, like I have, halfway to the top, plus like 4 hairs. I don't know, a little bit more, but not too much. Use your judgment. Sure, it'll be fine. So we got fresh lemon in the shaker. That's all we need to start. Next up, that peppercorn Fruity Pebbles syrup that we just talked about. We're going to add equal parts. Just a 1/2 ounce. That's all we want. Right inside the shaker. Now we're balancing out that base sour mix. That's all it is, right? Sweet and sour. That's all. Once we have that set with your gin or your vodka, whichever one I decide to send you, it's all good no matter what. We're going to do a full 50 ml. I have a little bit of a larger bottle, so I'm just going to add it manually. But 1 3/4 is perfect. This is going to be a stiff one. If you want to add a little bit more later, if you're making a second cocktail, because there's some extra syrup, you can stiff it up even more. You can make this a really powerful drink. But we're going to go with 1 3/4 to start. If you have those 50 mLs, we send it to you. You don't have to measure anything. You can just pour it right into the shaker. No measuring needed. Easy. So all of the contents of the cocktail are in there. Same rules apply as before. When shaking drinks, lots of ice. Remember that, right? So we're going to fill up that shaker with a ton of ice.
Aaron, we're going to repeat.
Intermission.
Yeah. How much was the Fruity Pebble stuff? Do we
All
need
right,
to
the
do?
Fruity Pebble stuff, 1/2 ounce.
1/2 ounce.
Fresh lemon, 1/2 ounce, and that's it.
Per cocktail, right, Aaron? So if
Per
you're doing
cocktail,
double-
yes. So if you're making double, full ounce. If you're making one, half an ounce. That's for clarifying. And then once all the stuff is in there, add a lot of ice and like crazy amounts of ice. It's your last drink right now. So really empty the freezer. I don't want you guys to have like these like flat cocktails that just don't come out right. You gotta add a ton of ice in there. Like, look, this is like a glacier. It's gonna do a good job. We're gonna throw some more on top. And then we're shaking this thing like a proper stiff cocktail. We want this to be ice, ice, ice cold, little shards of ice on top of it. Now here's the trick. If you're making this into a fizz, like a Collins, and you want to add some seltzer or tonic, I would add that seltzer or tonic to your glass first that you're going to drink out of. Now put about 3 ounces in there, just enough to really give this cocktail some lift. But one thing that like always gets me, it's like you order a vodka soda when you go out to, I don't know, a bar. They pour your vodka in, they hit it with some seltzer on top. The seltzer's floating on top of the vodka because it's lighter, it's got CO2. It's not going to have a balanced cocktail. The best thing is you put that the seltzer water on the bottom of the glass. You shake that cocktail, put it on top. It's going to help integrate everything, get all those flavors together. That's the way to go. So if you're going to make this into a fizz and not have this served up, remember, add your tonic or your seltzer water, whatever you have at home, into your glass, and just put about 3 ounces in the glass first. Then after you shake this cocktail, then you'll pour all of those contents on top of that seltzer. Then, therefore, mix it all up. You'll have a balanced cocktail, well integrated. If you're having this thing served up, as I'm going to do myself, just shake it up 15 seconds, really hard, lots of ice, and you'll have a great drink. Let's rock and roll.
Can we use club soda or just seltzer?
Seltzer and club are pretty much interchangeable. One has a trace amount of sodium in it, the other one doesn't. But either or would work just fine. Ah, boom. That is good. No, does anybody else?
Delicious. It's very sour.
Isn't that cool? Any Fruity Pebble people get on the bandwagon at all?
Hey, Aaron, I think we have matching glasses.
What style points right there? Same palette, same glass. Well done.
I really like this one.
And it's cool to see they can add a lot of flavor to a drink by using a very powerful syrup without adding a lot of sugar. Like that simple syrup of that cardamom and black peppercorn has a ton of flavor into it. So you don't need a ton of that to get into your cocktail. Just a little bit goes a long way. And then a little bit of acidity from that lemon just adds that nice brightness. And this drink comes out just marvelously well. This is such a good cocktail.
Is there a pre-made substitution for this as well? The cardamom?
I'm sorry, you're saying?
Is there like a pre-made substitution for this cardamom
Smaller glass.
glass? Like the Pierre one?
Like something you can buy at a store?
Oh, sorry.
It's like something you could like buy at a
Yeah,
a
like the
store.
Pierre thing. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So yes, they have cardamom bitters that you can find on probably Amazon. I think the Bitter Truth is a company that makes it. And you can make it at home just as easy. If you want to make your own cardamom tincture, get some like high proof vodka, add a bunch of crushed cardamom to it, let it sit for a couple of days. You can sprinkle some of that in a cocktail, like a cardamom bitters, it'll add some flavor. that's if you don't want to make the cardamom black pepper simple syrup, but also making simple syrups is not hard. You add a cup of water, a cup of sugar. I would just say this, equal parts sugar and water. Doesn't even have to be cups. You can just like get a handful of sugar and a handful of water, you're good. So you got equal parts of sugar and water by volume. You add some cardamom, add some fresh peppercorn. We all got pepper in the house. Then you're done. You let it simmer like 5 minutes. Gentle simmer, and you'll have plenty of syrup to last you for as many cocktails as you can drink. Now, the one thing with making simple syrup, even these ones that we sent you, they only last for about 2 weeks. And when you make them at home, you want to keep them in the fridge. You got to keep them cold. 2 to 3 weeks, you're good. And then after that, you really can't use them anymore. But another little trick is you can make extra and freeze it and pull it out down the road. And that works perfectly well. So if you want to make a little of this stuff for yourself, so you don't have to run out to the store and find cardamom every time you want to make this. It's not such a common spice. You can just buy some cardamom on Amazon, make the syrup one time, and just freeze some little Ziploc bags of it. And then whenever you want it, you just thaw it out, make more cocktails. It's another easy fix.
You know, they're great. If you want to support a local business, a great place for bitters is Art in the Age in Old City. They have an amazing bitter collection. And that's actually where I went after I signed my closing paperwork when I bought my triplex to go have a celebratory drink.
Ooh. And here's another thing. You can also reach out to me on Instagram. We can just send you a bag of this stuff. So it's very, very, very easy to get the cardamom peppercorn syrup. If you're too lazy to make it, there's many avenues to buy something either exactly like we had or something very close. Art in the Age is awesome. They have great stuff. We happen to have it as well. So if you did need to get any of these sugar packets, we'll send you all the spice mix. It's already weighed out with sugar. You add water, you simmer it, and you're good to go.
I want to hear what everyone's favorite drink is. So put a 1 or a 2 in the chat box as to your favorite drink.
Are we getting more 1s or more 2s?
2. You liked both? Someone liked both?
I like both as well.
There's a lot of ones, though. I think it's like an even split.
It's 50-50.
It is.
Nice.
Yeah, we're like split right.
George.
1.
George.
My clothes.
Does anybody else have any questions? Cocktails, 13th Street stuff, or anything beverage-wise?
I'd love to know why tequila makes his clothes fall off.
Broke my neck. I was doing.
I'm happy we're drinking vodka then.
So I miss, are you still on 13th Street? Like, do you guys have a store or you're just no?
No, now we're in
Okay.
Aston Mills.
Shit.
We're in lovely Delco on the Chester Creek. But we left Philly about 5 years ago in pursuit of more square footage. You know, we had to start building all these trailers. We need a place to store them, wood shop, because we build all of our stuff here. It's not just the cocktails and the event side of things, but everything we use on our gigs or on our events, we make in-house. So every trailer, every bar, everything's created here. It's a very hands-on product. We just need more shop space to be able to do it.
Your space looks super cool there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, love it.
And this is like 200 years in the making. Buildings from the 1840s. So it's old lead paint back there.
Is there?
Aaron, I just want to thank you. The previous cocktail party with the Stawasz group, we had a discussion afterwards about bourbon, and you recommended the Old Tub.
Yeah.
That's great, and they have it in the state store. You can get it dirt cheap, but in bourbon, chat rooms and stuff, they talk about across the country how expensive it is. I buy bashfully a couple bottles at a time now, and I happily drink it. I think it's great. So I thank you for that recommendation. I drink it all the time.
No, of course.
Wait, what was that recommendation?
It was called Old Tub Bourbon. It's from Jim Beam. And Old Tub is what it was once called a long time ago, but it's the original mash bill from Beam. It's also 100 proof. So when you're making cocktails with it, like we worked with stuff tonight that's 80 proof. But when you use 100 proof spirits and you shake those down, you know, it has more alcohol. So the dilution isn't as noticeable. The drinks come out a little bit sharper, a little bit hotter. And I think with whiskey cocktails where you want that whiskey bite in a cocktail, those bonded bourbons, you know, bottle to bottom 100 proof are really awesome. And typically a bonded whiskey is 28 to, I don't know, $5,000 for some of the crazy ones. But you know, this is an $18 or $17. I think it's on sale at the state stores. Such a good product. I just brought that to a party in Ridgewood, New Jersey. You can't find it up there. And these guys were going crazy over it. I mean, they could have got like really good whiskeys on the bar. They're like, no, I want the Old Tub. It's such a good product. That's worth stashing because it's not something that you'll always find in the shops. And you can't even find it anywhere in Jersey. It's just not really sold there. So one thing we have great in Pennsylvania stores is Old Tub bourbon from Jim Beam. Such a good product.
Aaron, we have some questions on the chat, and the first one is, are you in a cocktail bomb shelter?
It looks like it. Well, these walls are like 4 feet thick. It's pretty crazy. Hopefully,
laboratory.
What's that?
It's like a mad scientist laboratory. You're just like mixing crazy alcohol cocktails.
But you know what's wild? So this looks like a pretty cool like cocktail bar, right? All the pieces behind me, plus the bar and all this stuff. This is all stuff that we schlep around for events. And this is one of our regular bar sets. In fact, we brought half of one of these up on a rooftop in Philly yesterday for the Columbia Building's opening. So we really build quality stuff. And when we do our in-person events, it really transcends. The quality of the drink is good, but also what we're serving it on, the bars themselves, it's all heavy duty, pretty crazy stuff. And fits well in here though, it really, really does. We didn't have to build any custom. Like when we moved in this space, like we already have the bar. Some of our extra inventory just stacked it up and felt right at home.
When did you start doing in-person events again?
I mean, we really never stopped. So we think with COVID, you know, we were lucky because this side of the business was jamming all like COVID season. I would say this year was just wonderful for us. But with the in-person events, we had so many mobile bars that are outdoor trailer setups, and when a lot of these weddings that were in indoor venues had to, replan what they were going to do, and they found an outdoor field or barn space or open air location or tent, we fit right in because we had everything meant for doing large outdoor setups. We were never really built for like interior bars, just because most of the company, like think of most people that you go to like a wedding at, it's inside. It's gonna be like a big hotel or ballroom or something like that. They already have a bar, so we didn't have much to offer. Our whole business was really built for the outdoors. So with COVID, our business was great because all these indoor weddings now made outdoor plans, and we had plenty of inventory to sell. But now we're jamming. Like it's been really phenomenal. I mean, thank God things are somewhat pretty much back to normal. I feel like as far as like the event business, it's exploded. People just want to like go out, have fun, party. And we're here to help.
Love it. We have one more question from Janelle. What affordable gin do you prefer?
All right, so for gins, there's a brand I use called Bloom. I'll grab the bottle. I was just drinking it now. It's a very nice mixing gin. This you can find, I think, in PA. It's definitely in Jersey. It's a national brand, so it's not like very boutique. It's like $27. It's awesome stuff. A lot of cool gins. I mean, we have local stuff. I'm not a big fan of like the Blue Coats or I don't know, boardroom gins. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just not for my palate. I like a London gin. I think they make the nicest ones. And there's some really beautiful gins from Scotland and Germany and so forth. But for a good London dry, Bloom is just very well balanced. It's easy on the wallets, under $30. It's a wonderful product. Has a good balance of florals, botanicals, citrus. It's very well rounded, which is why it's really my go-to. And it's the right price.
And then what was the name of the second cocktail?
It's a good question. I don't have one.
Let's come up with one.
I think this is for you guys to name.
Fruity Pebbles?
Well, that's too easy, right? No.
The Stawasz.
Stawasz.
The Stawasz. I get down with that. I think that could stick.
Was. There you go.
Stawasz is funny.
That was one that we did really just for this event. It's not on our normal beverage offerings. We have something similar to it, but not quite that. So we probably will. So I finished mine. I loved it. It's worth. I think it's worth adding to the repertoire.
Awesome.
I don't know if anyone's ever been to Friday, Saturday, Sunday before, but they have a cocktail just like the second one that we had tonight on their cocktail menu, and it's amazing. So if you ever go to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, try that one because it is very, very similar to the second one.
But
Do you know what the name of it is?
The one you made or the one at Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
The one at Friday, Saturday, Sunday is called Control State. I looked it up because I was
Okay.
like,
Yeah, I've had it.
yeah,
They make amazing cocktails.
yeah.
Paul, he's a miracle worker in the bar.
Paul is a beast, man. I've known that guy for a long, long time. He's wonderful. He really is. I'm better, but he's still wonderful.
This is not a competition.
No, I'm only messing around. And he teaches the beverage to like the Drexel students for hospitality. And I was there doing a little seminar last year, and I got to run into him and brought him some stuff to they have a cool little cocktail bar there at Drexel for the kids to practice, or students, I should say kids, they're 20, whatever. And they had a cool beverage thing. So he's doing in the real world for us to drink when we go out. He's teaching loads of Drexel students in hospitality to have the same arsenal. So maybe drinks will get better in Philly with more of his disciples making cocktails. But he's phenomenal. He's a great bartender.
Aaron, can you buy these syrups online through your company?
It's funny. We were just talking about our retail stuff because we're maybe embarking on this new partnership with a retailer. And currently we do stuff through some third-party catering platforms. This is a small group. So if any of you guys want any of this stuff, you can just message me directly right through Instagram and I can get it to you. Once we have our full retail set up, it'll be on our Instagram, like a hyperlink to get to it. But in the meantime, if you like that Fruity Pebbles fix and you have to get it quickly, send me a message. I answer all of our messages. Happy to get one out to you. It'll come in a dry form though. You just have to add the measured amount of water that I dictate, and you just let it simmer for 5 minutes and you have the same stuff.
Love it.